Hi everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL. Today I wanted to talk with you. I really want to get to the core with something with you today. When I feel stuck, listening to general overview type of discussions about things aren't what interests me as much at that point. I'm usually more interested in things that really point things out, almost bullet point form. So one of the things I want to talk about today really kind of gets to the core of something that affects everything that you do professionally, the type of artwork that you produce professionally. To set the stage for what I want to talk about, I want to make reference to a YouTube channel I actually discovered recently. It's called Charisma on Command. It's this young guy who put together a really good YouTube videos on deconstructing and analyzing different well-known people, different celebrities, breaking apart their personality and how they interact, and figuring out how these different celebrities find respect and influence people and are loved and so on and so forth. And he actually started doing this with fictional characters, written characters, such as the character I'm going to talk about today. And very much a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is influenced by this YouTube video and the studies that he does based on this YouTube video. He's talking about Game of Thrones, of course. You know how I feel about Game of Thrones. I am working on the Game of Thrones trading card game after all. I'm a huge fan. And in this particular case, he does a deconstruction. He does a study of the character of Tyrion. More specifically, why Tyrion is so valuable and why he has such a capacity to survive. Okay? And you really got to go check this guy's stuff out. It's really interesting. In the study, in figuring out what makes Tyrion so valuable, you have to understand which perspective he's coming in when he finds himself in different situations. Let's set the stage of what Game of Thrones is. Game of Thrones is really a story of survival and power. How do people keep themselves alive? How do people maintain their value? How do people maintain their respect in this game of power that spans across the entire land, right? And Tyrion, if we were to place him, if we were to look at him on the surface in terms of his value to other people, he would be way down on the bottom. He's shorter than everybody else. He's slower than everybody else. He's not as good of a fighter as anybody else. He's not the richest person in the world. He's not the most powerful. Yet he manages to get all of the help and support and survive impossible odds over and over and over again. While everybody else around him, who seems to have all the power and all the money and all the resources, get killed off one at a time. It always ends up being Tyrion who's the last man standing. And it's not only something that's evident in his character in the show, but in his audience. I remember since season 1, people were expressing, if you kill Tyrion, you've lost me. I'll stop watching the show if you kill him off. That's how loved he is. Well, how did he pull that off? Well, if we look at Tyrion's perspective, he's actually doing the opposite of what everybody else on that show are doing. While everybody else is focusing on showing off their wealth, showing off their power, showing off their resources, showing off their army, showing off their dragons, he's not doing any of that. He instead is focusing on what everybody else wants. He's not trying to force his will on others. His effort is in empathizing, in listening, and paying attention to what other people want, and positioning himself as the person who can provide it to them. Okay? There's a very big difference between the two. Why? Because one is forcing their will, one is forcing a person's will onto somebody else. The other is not forcing anybody else, is allowing them to make the decision for themselves, and making him the most obvious candidate to fulfill that need that they have. And in this YouTube video, one of the things he said that really resonated with me, and will probably resonate with you, is people in general, you, me, everybody, are homing missiles towards the things that they desire most, right? On a daily basis, everything we do is to fulfill a certain desire we have inside of us. Everything. How we present ourselves on Facebook, how we go out, what type of clothes that we purchase, the type of equipment that we purchase, the way that we talk, the way that we walk, the way that everything is a reflection of our greatest desires. If you have 2 cents about you, you will actually stop thinking about yourself and start focusing on what everybody else is telling you about themselves. Because therein lies a way to connect with people. Therein lies a way to influence people. Therein lies a way to get the attention that you truly deserve. But what does everybody do? They take selfies of themselves in their sexiest pose and they post it on Facebook and they expect everybody to throw them love. Or they put themselves in a suit and tie and they act all badass and they expect everybody to respect them. In every one of those cases, they are trying to solicit through a passive or aggressive means a way of getting other people to pay attention to what it is that they want them to pay attention so they can get what they desire. But the people who find the most love, most respect, most everything are the ones that shut up about themselves and pay attention to what other people want and provide them with that instead. So in the case where Tyrion is surrounded by a horde of nomadic, Viking type characters that whose only focus is to kill and steal, he manages in the space of about 30 seconds to win their favor, turn the game around, and win their influence, and probably their allegiance a little bit down the line from people who couldn't care less who he is. All right? Now, let's put that in the context of being a concept artist and an illustrator. Let's put that in the context of trying to find artistic work. You are one of thousands of other artists, all chasing after certain jobs. You want this job, you want that job, you want this job, you want that job. But what most people do, most of the CVs that I remember, I worked as a director, most of the CVs that I received from people were from people who were telling me, I'm a great artist, you'd be a fool to turn me down. And what is my gut instinct to that? Well, the same type of gut instinct that I would have if somebody walked up to me in an argument and said, I'm sick and tired of you acting this way, Adam, and I expect you to change. What do? I go, expect me to change, huh? Oh, I'll tell you. Oh, expect me to change. Bitch wants me to change. All right, I'll tell you what's up, I'll change all over your ass is what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to change. I get resistant to that. It's a resistance. Somebody's coming at me telling me, you need to be this way. And my attitude about that is, why? Why should I change my way to suit your particular desires? Why are you forcing your will on me? Okay? And that's what CVs very often come across as. They come across as people trying to demand your attention through whatever passive or aggressive means they do. With somebody who doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. You're a stranger. You're nobody. And you're expecting them to invest themselves emotionally into you. It's the equivalent of me coming up and grabbing somebody, slamming them up against the wall and saying, you hire me or I'm going to kick your ass. Or somebody going, please, I've got 3 children. I'm poor. We haven't eaten in days. Please hire me. I promise you I'll do the best I can. I was like, yeah, no, I really sympathize with what you're dealing with, but I've got to hire the right talent or it's going to come at the cost of my job. And I'm going to be the one standing on the street begging for work after. That stuff doesn't work. Tyrion always asks the question, the most important question that we should be asking as artists. And that question is, what do you want? What do you want? You always hear him saying that throughout the entire show. What do you want? What do you really want? You want women? You want gold? You want golden women? Right? It sounded like a cross between Tyrion and Stewie. Golden women? Mummy? Right? He asks, he physically goes out and asks the question, what do you want? When they won't volunteer it for themselves. And when people aren't willing to talk to him, he cold reads them instead. You know how Tyrion's always shooting his mouth off. He's always talking and shooting off his mouth. He's shooting off his mouth because he's throwing keywords at people, waiting to see their ears perk up when he says that right thing. Blah 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 blah. Women, nothing. Blah 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 blah. Money, no response. Blah 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 blah. Men, no, still nothing. Blah 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 blah. Land, and he sees the person go, turns their head around. Oh, okay. He makes a mental note of it, and the next time he goes and sits down. Yes, I'm a Lannister. I have all this land, and I don't know what to do with half of it. If I could only find somebody who could volunteer to blah 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 blah, they might have access to that land. Oh, over here, right? And what do you have to offer, right? Now he's got somebody's attention because he's positioned himself as being the person who can provide them with what they truly desire. Why? Because he listened to them in the first place. Now, Tyrion didn't have the same resources that you do. Tyrion had nothing but the word of mouth and his cunning. He did not have LinkedIn. He didn't have Facebook. He didn't have Google. He didn't have Google Plus. Like, who the hell would have Google Plus in the first place? Okay, maybe some people. But, he didn't have any access to any of these resources. He didn't have access to ArtStation. He didn't have access to DeviantArt. He didn't have access to any of these different things that us as artists have access to. And YouTube. Let's not forget YouTube too. Okay? And that plays an important role in what I'm going to talk about today. LinkedIn to me is my first place I will go to when I want to figure out who's who and what's what. I specifically target who it is. I'll get into detail about that in a sec. I specifically target who it is that I want to approach, which studio I want to approach. And I don't only send connections to the people who to the HR. They're just the ones sending out the job announcement. I want to connect with the directors. I want to connect with the creative directors. I want to connect with the marketing team. I want to connect especially with all the artists out there. The junior artists, the senior, all of them. Why? Because it's starting to paint a picture for me of exactly what they're looking for, what they value. By looking at the junior and the senior artists, I can figure out, once I start researching people's portfolios, because if they have half a brain, they've posted their portfolio on LinkedIn, right? I get a gauge, an actual most junior position to most senior position. I can figure out where I slot myself into the middle of that. It gives me a good idea on how I will be perceived when I approach these people and how to design my language and design my presentation of myself to them in a way that they can agree with. So I'm setting a realistic tone with them right out of the gate, and I'm not walking in acting like a hotshot or too humble when I'm neither or, right? So that gives me a gauge. I research the directors. I look at the director's art, because art directors are also artists. Duh, right? People never think to look at directors for artists, but they're directing artists. They need to know how to draw themselves most of the time, right? If they have any idea on how to direct. Their portfolio is an excerpt out of their very diary of the type of art that they desire, because they frickin' do it themselves. That's the art that they value. All of these things. Furthermore, go on YouTube. If it's a better known company, or if it's a company that's trying to pitch themselves and get a little bit of exposure out there, they might very well make YouTube videos, interviews. There's Scott something or other that's doing an interview about the latest game that they've put out. Pay attention to him. How's the guy dressed? How does he talk? Is he dressed like me? Casual? Or is he dressed in a business suit? How does he talk? Does he say, yeah, man, you know, like my buddy over here, Scott Richardson, man, this guy can draw like a beast. Check out this guy's artwork. Well, he was the senior concept artist for this game, and as you can see, we put a lot of time and energy into designing this Wraith character over here, and he's going on to listen to his language. He's painting a picture of the company and the culture of the place, right? He's presenting himself as being cool. He's presenting himself as being hip. God, that's such an awful word. Hip. He's presenting himself as being hip and cool, and you know, he knows what the kids want, and he speaks the same language. And look, I have a picture. I have a T-shirt with a Nintendo cartridge on it, and it says "Blow me." Get it? Ha! Right? He's positioning himself as being that type of a gamer, and he's also painting a picture of the type of culture and the type of talent that goes into the studio. He's a reflection of it because he's the one who hires it, right? Flip into a different mode. And I've seen other interviews of other people online who are a little bit more elitist, a little bit douchebaggy, survival of the fittest type of attitude. So they come on and I remember one in particular I'm watching. It was a certain studio where there were these two guys and they were talking about a Cintiq. I think they were doing a Cintiq review. I can't remember which studio or whatever. But they had a bit more of an elitist type of attitude about it, which resonates with a lot of people out there. And I remember him talking about Facebook likes. You know, and he's like my buddy over here, yeah, he's got like 2,500 likes every time he posts a picture, and all people are always wondering, oh, how come nobody likes my work? Why does it's because I'm not neck breaking? Nah, man. Hey, likes don't lie. If your artwork's good, you get the likes. He's kind of got that survival of the fittest type of attitude, a very elitist attitude, but he's also telling you the type of boss you're gonna have, right? So if you work for the guy and then you quit 3 weeks later complaining that the guy was a dick to you, well, you should have known that if you did your homework, right? If you saw his video and he looked like a dick, well, don't apply because you don't want to work with dicks. It's that easy, right? So you're getting an idea of the culture. Other studios I've seen very corporate. You get this very white-looking guy in his tie and his suit, and he goes, yes, we're working on the latest IP. It's the sixth installment of our IP. We're very proud of this franchise, and of course we have plans to release numerous other franchises, additions to this franchise in the future. We've already got a huge team of extremely talented artists that are working on it right now, and white stuff here, and white and fine, and then he breaks into an Irish chicken, and he skips off stage. Now, if I walk into a studio, if I walk into a job interview with a guy like that, and they go, "Hey, bro, what's up?" You know, the guy from Breaking Bad. "Hey, B, what's up, man? How you doing?" Give him a little bro thing there. He's going, "Ow, sir, I have very sensitive scapula. I'd appreciate it if you don't hit it." You know, and they're gonna leave little poops and they're gonna run away because they can't handle you. You're too hardcore for them. So you don't want to walk into a studio like that because you're gonna feel like an oddball in there. You can't bluff that kind of stuff. You got to find that fit. So you can research the art. You can research the style of that art. I've talked about that in other talks as well, right? Style, the importance of style. You know, you could be the greatest artist in the world, but if your style doesn't fit, you're not going to fit. You can research personality. Look at the guy, God, brain fart, the guy from QBrush, right? He just posted a video on his YouTube channel talking about how he just left Blizzard. And he wants to start his own online school as well, right? Which is probably going to be something awesome. But what does he do? He posts a video of him having his last goodbye lunch with his colleagues at Blizzard. Okay, pay attention, guys. That's a video of him with his colleagues in the cafeteria hanging out with his buddies. Were you checking out his gorgeous blue eyes, or were you looking at the guy sitting at the table with him? When he announced the fact that, yo, everybody goodbye, and everybody goes, yay! Look at them. How are the people dressed? How are they acting? What are they like? Well, those are going to be your colleagues if you apply there. That's the kind of people that fit into that studio, that work in that studio. So pay attention, because they're the ones who you should be listening to. Not him. He's leaving. But, I mean, his personality should be a reflection, too, of what a little bit of that company culture as well. People so often pay attention to the surface of something and they're not actually reading behind the lines. What would Tyrion do, right? Use the grape. So all of these different things you can research. You put together a big package. And when you sit down at the job interview, you make sure that your personality fits. You make sure that your art's the right style. You make sure that you listen and you ask the question, what do you want? What are you looking for in an artist? But you've already done your homework. So by the time you sit down in that studio, you have verbally, emotionally, physically, artistically positioned yourself as being the person who can provide them with the thing that they desire most. And you didn't even have to open your mouth at that point. And when you do that right, all you have to do, it's the work you have to do is very simple. You just take your little seed and you put it down on the table and you leave it there and let magic take care of the rest for you. It's that simple. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get every job you do that with, but your chances of getting a job under those circumstances skyrocket. However, there's one last very important ingredient that needs to be present throughout this entire thing. If we go back to Tyrion Lannister, what is his mission statement? What is that paragraph, that statement about him that defines him as a character? A Lannister always pays their debts. Right? A Lannister always pays their debts. That is his defining statement. It is because of that very element. It's because that fact about Tyrion and his family, the Lannisters, it's because of that his promise to others saves his life over and over and over again, or gets him the girl, or gets him the bodyguard that he's looking for. It's because he always religiously respects the fact that he always pays his debts, come hell or high water, no matter what, you're going to get what I promise you. That people respect his word. Even nomadic tribes in the middle of nowhere respect his word. If he can't deliver on the goods that he promises, he will immediately, his reputation shot, and nobody will ever take him seriously again. So you have to be sure that you can deliver what you promise. As an artist, that requires you to do something very important before you do any of the things that I mentioned. And that is make sure that everything that you do is steeped for 6 months in authenticity. It's got to be real. I'm not going to walk, the way the way I dress. I'm not going to walk into a job interview acting all corporate or pretending to be corporate Because people are going to see right through that. I'm promising to be corporate, but I'm not. And even if I fooled them at that job interview 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm going to be sitting down, cracking jokes with my very uptight white colleagues, and they're going to go, yes, well, you know what? Why did the chicken cross the road? And I'm going to go, ha, yeah, that's messed up, B. And they're going to go, oh, he's a fraud, right? Of course, it's an exaggeration, but you get my point. They're going to see through that eventually. And I'm going to see through it. And I can't keep that up. How sustainable is me being full of shit, right? A liar lie never lasts forever. You're going to have to keep that lie going on forever. Same thing with your artwork. You don't want to reinvent yourself artistically. I've spoken about this in other talks. You don't want to reinvent yourself artistically every single time you apply for a job. No, you target those specific jobs that suit you. The personality, the art, the culture suits you. And you target that and make sure that everything you present them is exactly, it's a perfect reflection of what their desires are. And I guarantee you, your chances of getting that job are going to skyrocket. And your confidence when you walk into a job interview is going to skyrocket as well. And your connection with your colleagues is going to be authentic. You're going to crack jokes. You're going to make bonds with your colleagues that are authentic. They're real. They're not full of shit. Because if they're not completely real, the Lannister is not going to pay his debt, and nobody's going to take you seriously ever again. Okay? So remember, that always has to be at the core of everything that you do. So hopefully you enjoyed the talk. Remember, I mention this every talk. Remember, we have the Brush Sauce Theater Art Contest with me and Tyler Edlin. I'm pretty sure that Tyler's going to be, I should expect a call from him soon. Probably going to be doing one soon. You can check the link in the description to the Google Plus page where you can submit your own art. If you want to get on this competition, get some free professional critique on your artwork, then I suggest you go and check it out. Remember, I have LUCIDPIXUL, my private online mentorship as well, my art mentorship. And just to let you know, if you want to get in soon, I've only got a few spots left, and the summer rush is coming soon. So, if you're in no rush, then you can wait it out. But otherwise, if you want to get in soon for during the summer break, because you're taking a break from school, then I suggest you get in touch with me soon. Again, all the info is in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed the talk, and stay tuned. I have a lot more to come. Take care.